Hello. Welcome to Module 4. My name is Barbara Gray, research professor at Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at CUNY. In our final module on research for reporting, we're going to look at how you can create a process to fact-check your own reporting. We'll show you common errors to avoid, where to check your facts. We'll talk about the perils of confirmation bias, how to challenge your assumptions, and how to triage your fact-checking on deadline. Why do we fact-check for journalism? There's a lot of reasons on this slide, but what can you think of? What other reasons might there be? For accuracy, right? That's what our profession's about. To avoid bias or skewed reporting. To guard against plagiarism. To avoid legal risk. To protect our journalistic reputation. To avoid the risk of embarrassment. To avoid the risk to the integrity of the publication or platform we work for. Ultimately, it's about the integrity of your reporting. We also don't want to contribute to making the public cynical about our journalism or journalism in general. Also, our profession is based on verification. Our methods should be transparent and objective, and your reporting should be replicable like a scientific study. Never has our industry faced more distrust than it has in the last few years. While political and social changes have made good journalism more important than ever to an informed society, it is imperative for journalists to be impeccable in their reporting and fact-checking. As a journalist, you're responsible for corroborating your reporting. Before we discuss fact-checking techniques, let's start with a very basic question. What is a fact? A fact is simply something that is true. It's a statement that can be verified. When fact-checking, you have to verify every statement of fact, verify every assertion based in fact in your article. Here's an example of an opinion which you can't fact-check, even though the AP tried to. None of us are infallible. Errors and corrections can be found every day. It's very humbling to read these in just about any newspaper and online news site. But it's good. It's good to look at these and know what you don't want to replicate. Creating a ritual to fact-check every line of your work before publication minimizes the risk of having to make a correction. But it does happen. It happens to, even when there is a fact-checker behind the piece, it happens. Here are a few recent errors. The New York Post erroneously reported that the person who attempted to assassinate Donald Trump was a quote-unquote Chinese man. They did not give a clear explanation for the error, but claimed they quickly corrected it. The Boston Globe incorrectly described Algerian Olympic gold medal winning boxer Imane Khalef as transgender. And then, in their initial correction, neglected to note that she was born a female. This shows a recent retraction from Scripps News, which falsely reported that Tyson, a food processing company, planned on hiring 52,000 asylum-seeking immigrants to the U.S. They were not the only outlet to publish this error, but like all of these errors, it caused a lot of controversy and clearly merited the extra fact check of a phone call to confirm. So what do we fact check? The answer is everything. To show you what I mean by that, pause on this slide for a few minutes and just consider and maybe even make note of what the checkable facts are in this excerpt of the New York Times obituary of disability rights icon Lois Curtis. Okay, how did that go? Do you see what I mean? In that everything is a checkable fact here. Is her name spelled correctly? Was she 55 when she passed? Was this the correct title of her lawsuit? Was the case decided by the Supreme Court, Are the facts of the case represented here correctly? And that was just the headline and subheadline. Here's a checklist from NPR to give you the most common errors you must fact check. Of course, the list is not exhaustive, but we'll give you an idea of what to look out for every single time. These will get you every single time. Names, ages, titles, numbers, and statistics. Always go to the original sources to confirm those. And watch out for millions and billions. Those two being mixed up are responsible for many corrections every year and many every month, to be honest. So, don't use superlatives, only, most, first, never, unless you could definitively and authoritatively say that. Instead, say one of the first. Here are some things to check that I would add to this checklist. Any argument or narrative that depends on fact, which is kind of facts within quotes, you have to check those, because if you publish them, that onus is on you. Timeliness, a story might have changed. If someone was convicted, were they sentenced yet? Are they in prison? Reporters' interpretations and characterizations. Why are you describing things this way? When fact-checking a piece of writing, whether an article, a script for a podcast, or a documentary, make sure you identify every assertion or fact. Here's an example of an assertion based on a fact that was wrong. This New York Times TV critic criticized a TV show's split personality, in quotes, and needlessly complicated structure when the critic had actually watched the show's episodes in the wrong order. His criticism was based on the fact that he had watched in the correct order. This seems like a hard one to catch if you make this mistake, but I bet they'll never make that mistake again. Scrutinize the sources of information. Ask who says, how do they know? Are they biased? And what don't I know? A colleague of mine used to say, what don't I know about how the sausage is made? Maybe you need to check with an expert to help you understand or explain it to you like you're a child. That will help. So you've identified the facts you need to corroborate. Now, where do you go for that information? We've covered this in past videos in this course. You want to use primary sources, firsthand accounts when you can. Interviews, court documents, government databases, scientific studies, emails, reporters' notes, video. It's important to note that even primary sources can and should be questioned. For example, scientific studies could have questionable methodologies, so make sure you look at that. Is there a case to be made against information that comes from a primary source? Investigate it. Do further research. Speak to an expert who might have questioned the information or the source. You can also refer to secondary sources. Experts, make sure to check them out, background them, make sure that they haven't been called out as wrong on other occasions. Look at Google Books, Google Scholar, open data portals. Find a stakeholder organization to check with. Reference books, any contemporaneously published articles at the time a thing happened. There's a rule of thumb used by some fact checkers, which makes me a little nervous, but sometimes you can only do it this way. Having 3 articles from authoritative publications can be used to confirm one fact. But you have to be careful about that too, because you may just be perpetuating errors. If there's a way to get to a primary source, a person who was at the event, do that. In our next video, we'll cover some of the toughest fact-checking challenges and the steps to create your own fact-checking process to protect the integrity of your reporting.